Who owns poi tricks? Are they the intellectual property of the people who carve them out, or do they belong to the community once they've been shared with it? Should people have a say in who can and cannot do what with the work that they've created? Yeah, this one's going to get pretty sticky. Drex here from Drex Factor Poi, sharing with you the love of poi spinning and flow arts to benefit your body and brain. Today, I want to talk about something kind of heady in the flow arts world that potentially has some pretty troubling ramifications the deeper we get into it. But before we do that, I just want to give a quick shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Fire Mecca, Flow Fests, Flow Toys, Juggling Calling, Pyroterror Light Toys, Spinballs, and Ultrapoi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all these amazing businesses and what they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by checking out the links that I've got down in the description of this video. And special thanks to non-business friends of the channel, Johnny Howard, Lain Mochinsky, and Pekha Pekkonen. Thank you all so very much for your support for my work and my mission. So recently I watched this superb video by YouTuber Adam Neely about copyright in music and why that system is both deeply old-fashioned as well as hopelessly broken. If you haven't already, I highly recommend checking it out. Not the least of which because you'll likely learn a lot about the music industry by doing so, and I think that's a form of cultural literacy that we should all have in this day and age. In that video, Adam makes a point of talking about how troublesome it's become having a system in which people can claim ownership over specific melodies, cadences, or stylistic flourishes. That music is supposed to involve quoting other people's work, and the more restrictive copyright gets around music, the more difficult it becomes for it to truly work as a collaborative creative process. There are some points he makes in that video that I really agree with, and others that I think might be oversimplifications. But I'm neither an intellectual property lawyer nor a professional musician, so I don't think it's super appropriate for me to weigh in on that conversation. But it did get me thinking about an aspect of flow arts culture that operates in a similar fashion, wherein we quote and build upon the work of others, draw inspiration from it, and sometimes create very popular versions of the work that we've absorbed from others too. I'm talking, of course, about our tricks. And just to flag it, there are several other aspects of flow arts culture that already have no small amount of intellectual property jurisprudence around them, from prop construction, trademarks, unique aspects of an act and the like. We already have our toes dipped in the legal IP world, but I want to focus on just this one element because Neely's video really got my gears turning on it. And if you want to see me talk more about these other aspects of IP law as it pertains to the flow arts, let me know down in the comments. But back to poi tricks. Generally, we've sort of framed them in the same kind of realm as open source collaboration. When we share new tricks we've come up with, there's not just the assumption, but also frequently the expectation that other people are going to learn how to do them as well and likely come up with their own riffs on the concept. For many of the first generation of poi entrepreneurs, the object of value was considered not the trick itself, but how to perform said trick and/or access the person performing it. You paid for instructional DVDs or in-person lessons from a person that you respected. Now, that model did shift once video sharing via social media became widespread, but we still had established the precedent that the tricks themselves were open and available for sharing. In a lot of respects, this was a core attribute that helped and continues to help poi spinning and other flow arts spread as rapidly as they have in the past decade and a half. But there have also been a lot of people who haven't been as comfortable with this system and that have wanted, if nothing else, credit for having been the first to find a trick or for having taught it to the person presenting it. So this gets into some pretty sticky territory, and I can see arguments and antecedents for both sides. Now, to a certain extent, crediting a person for having this role dovetails somewhat with two other frameworks from other arts. For one, what Adam Neely was describing in his video was essentially footnoting the sources for one's inspiration for a phrase or idea. This isn't so different from academic papers citing other academic papers they're drawing data or conclusions from. Another example is the concept of lineage in martial arts. So lineage in itself has some controversy around it that I will absolutely not be weighing in on here, but suffice it to say, it's frequently used as a tool to trace the specific stylistic flourishes of a given school of martial arts over the centuries. So yes, I think that if you know who created a trick that you're using, there's no harm in crediting them, if not as the creator, then as the person that inspired you to learn it. And if you don't know who created it, you can always credit the person from whom you learned it or first saw it being performed. Now, there is another side to this argument, and it's a bit more philosophical. It basically holds that all things that can be learned really already essentially exist, and the act of discovering them isn't so much breathing a new thing into being, but merely uncovering that which the universe already holds potentially. So how can someone claim ownership or even discovery of a new thing when it was already there all along? Whether you agree with this viewpoint or not, it does raise an important question regarding what the core of ownership or discovery even is, and how one claims it. If I tweak a trick I saw someone else doing just slightly and discover it opens up a whole new family of tricks that person I got it from was totally unaware of, does it originate with them or with me? Here's a great example of this. More than a decade ago, in a video of Yuta performing, he showed off what was then a move that baffled many observers. In a thread analyzing the move, French flow artist Damien Boy-Bouvier described the pattern as the product of two other poi patterns that had been cut and pasted back together. He referred to the concept as a cap, or continuous assembly pattern. These are now an integral part of the poi vocabulary, but the description of that framework happened entirely apart from Yuta himself. So, do caps originate with Yuta, or with Damien, or with neither? Were they always just in the ether waiting for somebody to pick them up? This is part of why even ascribing lineage can be tricky. And I've seen plenty of cases wherein people get angry or even offended that a person they don't know is credited for having taught a move to someone else when they see themselves as having been the first to perform or capture it on video. Now, I will confess that I do not have a dog in this fight. Aside from just making clear that I think the application of intellectual property as is being exercised in the music industry right now to flow arts would be catastrophic, but near as I can tell, there's nobody advocating for that point. But even asking for credit is, in some respects, a form of exercising ownership over a thing, whether it comes with the ability to restrict other people's access to it or not. Now, personally, I believe that it takes time, energy, and effort to learn a new trick, and that each of these things is dramatically harder when you don't have an example of the thing to work from or break down to learn. And I think that the effort, imagination, and discipline that it takes to get there is important and should be recognized. I also think that the effort it takes to learn something from an example or teacher is also something that should be recognized because it still exists, no matter how good of resources somebody has access to. But that's not a statement about ownership. It's a statement that when we see people learning things they're having a hard time with, we should hype them up. Topic for another time. But getting back to the original thread, I think that recognizing the effort that was necessary to bring tricks into the world or pass on to other people is indeed something that we should try and incorporate into our own work. If for no other reason, then we really are standing on the shoulders of giants, and the energy that it takes to give them that hat tip is both inconsequential next to the amount of energy it took to do the thing for the first time, and it shows respect. By the same token, there are way too many old heads that create way too much drama when they don't see their name pop up as often as they would like. You know, if you really need the ego boost, then do the work to stay contemporary and relevant. Otherwise, you're kind of just coasting on your older work, and it's really not cool to expect the people that are doing the work in the present to keep you in the conversation when you are not. And there's also a lot of cases where tracking down the origins of specific ideas becomes an ordeal in itself. Believe me, in researching many of my videos and trying to search through old Facebook or Home of Poi posts, I'll go through hours of searches and still not be able to connect the dots. At a certain point, drawing out those histories and lineages becomes an impediment to doing new work, and it effectively does become akin to asserting ownership over ideas. And that not only holds back new work, but also only benefits the person demanding that this be done. It's polite to cite your influences, but we should also have grace for when this becomes impractical. Ultimately, I think the sharing of ideas is a really important cornerstone to who we are and what we do as flow artists. I think that it's respectful to cite our influences and inspirations where relevant, and also that it's important we not lose sight of how freely sharing ideas has helped us grow and will hopefully continue to help us grow in the future. Ultimately, I don't think that any of us own any tricks, but that the work people have put into sharing new ones with us is still important to recognize. I hope both stay integral aspects of flow arts culture long into the future. But what do you think? Do you think identifying lineage should supersede the importance of creating new work? Do you think the work that goes into learning something without any guide is really irrelevant? Leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. Did you get anything out of this video? Please make sure to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe to keep the conversation going and to help my channel grow. This video would not be possible if not for the wonderful support of all of these amazing people right here. These are my Flow patrons over on Patreon, and they, along with the people listed down in the description, helped make this video and all the videos on my channel possible. Thank you one and all for your support. Do you like my videos? Do you like my flow sessions, vlogs, reviews, combos, and more? I'm on a mission to try and bring poi spinning and flow arts to the wider world and help people connect with their brains and their bodies. So help me do it. Head on over to patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi and sign up. You can do that at the link in the description or the card that just popped up if you are watching on YouTube. There you can get access to a whole host of awesome rewards and help me along in my mission. Do check that out. Please and thank you. If you'd like to check out some of my other videos on flow arts culture, I've left a link to a playlist of videos down in the description as well as up on screen if you are watching on YouTube. Also, the YouTube algorithm thinks that you'll like this top video based upon your past viewing habits, so maybe give that a look too. Make sure to get outside to flow today, and I'll see you with a new video on Wednesday. Peace.